I'll bury you under that lake, Patricia screamed when I caught her. This Karen had posted my private lake for sale online, $50. Euros a zero, to random investors. She even called the cops, claiming I threatened her. But I'm a real estate expert with 15 years of experience. I knew exactly how to stop her. There was something about her property. She didn't know. Something that would change everything. Now let's just say, she can't even get near her lake anymore. Want to know how I did it? 3 insane twists. Comin'. Where are you watching from every morning? I sit by this lake with Duke, my golden retriever. This is where Emily, my wife, once dreamed. We would grow old together, Marcus, when we retire. Let's buy a ranch with a fishing lake. She used to say, her eyes sparkling as she flipped through those travel magazines. But life has a cruel way of shattering dreams. 3 years ago, a drunk driver ran a red light and stole Emily from me forever. I could not stay in our house where every corner whispered her name, so I sold everything and bought this 5-acre ranch with a 2-acre lake. It was the exact place from a magazine clipping Emily had kept. This was my way of keeping her dream alive after 15 years as a real estate appraiser. I had seen every dirty trick in the property game, but I was done with that world here. I wanted only peace. Duke became my sole companion, this beautiful golden retriever that Emily had given me just 2 weeks before the accident. The ranch provided perfect isolation. It was far enough from town to avoid the pitying looks, yet close enough for weekly grocery runs. The crown jewel was this crystal-clear lake, surrounded by willows that danced in the breeze. Every evening, I would sit here with my fishing rod Duke at my side, finding comfort in the gentle lapping of water against the shore. Then, Patricia Gray moved in, 6 months ago, and my sanctuary began to crumble from day one. Something felt off about this 48-year-old woman. She immediately proclaimed herself president of the Meadowbrook Women's Association, which was laughable, considering our community had maybe 20 households. She would knock on doors with her fake smile pushing petitions for community improvement and economic development. Most folks were polite, but distant. Behind her back, neighbors started calling her that city woman. With rolled eyes, she would corner people at the grocery store talking about untapped potential and modernization opportunities. What I did not know then was Patricia's desperate situation. She was not just annoying, she was dangerous. Patricia had fled the city after her real estate brokerage collapsed. She had been caught forging signatures and pocketing deposits for homes that were never for sale. She owed the bank over $200,000 and had borrowed $50. Yozoju zero from some very unforgiving people. If I don't pay them in 3 months, they'll break my legs. I would later hear her sobbing on the phone. She had changed her name from Patricia Coleman, dyed her hair, and fled to our rural community. But running from debt does not make it disappear. Her plan was to transform our community into Patricia Lake Eco Resort. She had already created brochures and compiled lists of investors. The centerpiece of her vision was my lake, my private, peaceful lake that had been Emily's dream. She had studied county records and calculated that controlling water access could make her millions in her mind. She was being a visionary entrepreneur. The fact that the lake belonged to me was just an inconvenient detail after all. What was one widower hour compared to her grand ambitions? Monday morning changed everything. I woke at 6:30 as usual, made coffee and fed Duke. We were heading out for our morning walk when my phone started ringing strange. I thought checking the caller ID. Unknown number. Then another call and another. By 6:47, I had over 50 missed calls and dozens of text messages. Is this Marcus? I'm interested in the lake property. Will you take $60,000 cash? I'm flying in from California tomorrow. My hands trembled as I opened my laptop. There, it was plastered across real estate groups and marketplace listings. Patricia was selling my lake. Incredible opportunity. Private 2-acre lake. in pristine condition, perfect for development, price to sell at $50. 000. Contact Patricia Gray, authorized representative. The posts included professional photos of my lake from every angle. She had used a drone to capture aerial views. There were even development mock-ups showing potential cabin sites, my sanctuary, my refuge. My last connection to Emily reduced to a commodity. Duke sensed my rage and started whimpering. My first instinct was to call the police, but I knew that would take time. This required immediate confrontation. I stormed out, Duke racing behind me. The quarter-mile to Patricia's house had never seemed shorter. I found her watering her roses, wearing that fake smile. "Good morning, Marcus. Lovely day, isn't it?" she chirped. "Are you insane?" I shouted. "You're selling my property on the internet." Patricia's smile never wavered, but her eyes turned cold. "Oh, Marcus, don't be dramatic. That lake has been underutilized for years. I'm helping our community recognize its potential. Think of all the jobs and opportunities. The lake is mine. My private property. You have no right?" I stepped closer, my fists clenched. "Rights," Patricia laughed. "Do you have proper documentation, or have you just been squatting on public land? I have connections at the county assessor's office. They tell me property lines here are quite ambiguous." This was a lie. My deed was ironclad. Taxes paid annually, but her confidence made me pause. Then I noticed her hand moving behind her back, working her phone. "Don't think you can intimidate me," she continued, voice rising. "I know your type. Bitter old men who think they own everything." Before I could respond, Patricia's demeanor changed completely. Her face contorted in fake terror, and she screamed, "No, please don't hit me. Help somebody help me. He's going to kill me." She threw herself backward, knocking over plants. Her phone was already connected to emergency services. I stood frozen as Patricia continued screaming, "He said he'd bury me under the lake. Please call 911. Within 5 minutes, I heard sirens. 2 police cruisers roared up Patricia's driveway. 4 officers jumped out, hands on their weapons. Patricia ran toward them, hair disheveled, mascara running. "Thank God you're here. This man threatened to kill me." The lead officer approached me carefully. "Sir, step back and put your hands where I can see them." "Officer, she's lying. I came here because she's illegally selling my lake online." "Sir, calm down, hands visible now." The officer's tone begged, no argument. Duke growled at the officers, and I had to grab his collar. The next 30 minutes were the longest of my life. Officers separated us, taking statements. Patricia spun an elaborate tale of harassment and threats. Meanwhile, I tried to explain about the lake, showing them screenshots on my phone. The officers looked skeptical. Thank God for Mrs. Henderson, who lived between our properties. She had security cameras that captured Patricia's yard. When officers reviewed the footage, it showed me standing still while Patricia threw herself backward. No physical contact, just a confused man and his dog. The sergeant's expression hardened. "Ma'am, making false reports is a serious offense." Patricia's tears dried instantly. "That video doesn't show everything. He threatened me." Before the sergeant sighed deeply, "Both of you need to work this out civilly. No more confrontations, ma'am. Don't call us unless there's real danger, sir. Don't go to her property again." As the police left, Patricia caught my eye and smirked. She had lost this round, but showed no shame. Duke and I walked home slowly, my mind racing. Patricia would not stop. She needed money desperately and had identified my lake as her golden ticket. But as we reached my property line, something clicked in my memory. 15 years in real estate had taught me about easements, abandoned properties, and forgotten parcels. That night, I pulled out my old survey maps. If Patricia wanted to play dirty, she would learn that this widower hour knew some tricks by midnight. I had found something interesting in the county records, something Patricia had definitely overlooked. Patricia just called the cops and falsely accused me, But she doesn't know that I've discovered a deadly secret about her land. What do you think I found? Comment below. The next 3 nights blurred together in a haze of coffee and bloodshot eyes. My dining table disappeared under stacks of property records. Dating back to the 1950s, Duke watched me with concern, occasionally nudging my hand. Every property has a paper trail, and after 15 years as an appraiser, I knew how to follow those trails. The work was tedious, cross-referencing plot numbers with tax records. But I was driven by something stronger than Patricia's greed. I was protecting Emily's dream. My laptop screen glowed with county maps, while I compared them to yellowed paper surveys looking for discrepancies. Meanwhile, Patricia escalated her campaign every morning at 8 sharp. She would lead groups of potential investors past my property, pointing at the lake I watched from my window, as she distributed glossy brochures featuring my lake with photoshopped cabins. Patricia, Lake Resort, and Spa. The mock-ups proclaimed she had hired someone to create a professional website with virtual tours and investment packages. The audacity was breathtaking. She organized preview events in her backyard, setting up tents with champagne and appetizers. Duke would bark every time the groups got too close to our fence. Patricia just smiled and told investors that the current occupant will be relocated soon. Thomas Murphy, my 72-year-old neighbor, stopped by on the 3rd night. His family had farmed this area for 4 generations. "Marcus, you look like hell," he said bluntly. "That woman's got the whole county talking. 40 years I've lived here. Never seen anything like it." He had brought a casserole from his wife Linda. "She's trying to steal my land." "Thomas," I explained, showing him the online listings. His face darkened. "My granddad always said the worst thieves wear the nicest clothes you need. Help, you ask? We all remember when you and Emily first came here. We won't let some city con artist take that away." By the 3rd night, exhaustion was taking its toll. Duke had barely touched his food, stressed by my unusual behavior. My eyes burned, and I had started seeing deed numbers everywhere around 2:10 in the morning. I found myself staring at Emily's photo. "I don't know if I can win this," I whispered. "She's got money and connections. Maybe I should just sell and leave." Duke whined softly. But then I remembered Emily's last visit to the lake 2 days before the accident. She had stood at the dock, arms spread wide, laughing at the sunset. "This is perfect. Marcus, promise me we'll never leave." I had promised thinking we had decades ahead. Now that promise felt like a sacred vow. I returned to the documents with determination at 2:15 in the morning. I was examining a 1960 county survey book when something caught my eye. The property boundaries in this area had been redrawn several times. As farms were divided, Patricia's lot had been carved from a larger farm in 1985, but there in faded ink was an anomaly. A small rectangular plot, 75 square mi, sitting between Patricia's eastern boundary and my lake access. The surveyor had marked it Plot X, unnumbered with a note about uncertain ownership. My exhaustion vanished. I cross-referenced with tax records and found the last owner, Joseph Wilson, who had died in 1987. No heirs were listed. The property had been forgotten for 37 years. This ghost plot was not just random land. It was positioned exactly where Patricia's dirt road reached my lake. Without crossing this plot, she would have to bushwhack through 2 mi of protected wetlands. I pulled up satellite images and confirmed it. The forgotten strip was the crucial choke point. Patricia's previous owner had used it for decades, without realizing they did not own it. Her title search had missed it, because the plot had no proper number and was not in the digital system. My hands shook as I photographed every document. Patricia thought she had backed me into a corner, but she had actually handed me the keys to her defeat. I barely slept that night at 7 sharp. I was waiting when the county land office opened. Rita, the clerk who had helped me years ago, looked surprised. "Marcus, you're here early. How's the lake under attack?" I said grimly, explaining Patricia's scheme. Rita's face hardened. "That plot X you're asking about? she said, pulling up records I remember now. Wilson died without a will, had no family. The county should have claimed it for back taxes, but it got missed. 37 years of unpaid taxes, about $380 total. Can I buy it? I asked. Has to go to public auction. Rita explained. We'll post notice today. Hold the auction in 3 days. But honestly, who else would want 75 square meters of dirt? Word travels fast in small communities. By afternoon, Patricia had heard about the auction. I saw her car at the courthouse, no doubt researching the same records that evening. She approached me at the grocery store. Marcus, I heard you're interested in that tiny plot. Planning some gardening. She was fishing for information. Just tidying up boundary issues, I replied casually. Her eyes narrowed. Well, may the best bidder win. Though I can't imagine why anyone would waste money on that strip. She was trying to discourage me, but her presence told me she was worried. Good. I had 3 days to prepare. That is when I remembered William Johnson, a retired theater professor who lived 2 towns over. I had appraised his house years ago. William, how would you like to earn $500 for an hour's work? I explained my plan, and he laughed delightedly. Corporate espionage in rural America. What's my character's motivation? We rehearsed several scenarios. William would play a developer interested in assembling small parcels. His job was to bid aggressively enough to make Patricia nervous, but not so much that he would actually win. Auction day arrived gray and drizzly. The county meeting room held only a handful of people. Patricia arrived in a power suit, briefcase in hand. William showed up in character with rumpled sport coat and thick glasses, checking multiple phones like a busy investor. I wore my usual jeans and flannel. The auctioneer clearly expected this to be quick plot. X75 min bid. $500. I raised my hand. Patricia immediately countered $600. William jumped in dramatically. False $500. Patricia's composure cracked. She had not expected serious competition. $2,000. She said firmly. I raised $2,100. William escalated $5,000. This plot is exactly what my clients need. Patricia's face flushed. She pulled out maps, trying to figure out what William knew. The auctioneer looked pleased at the unexpected action. $5,000 going once. $7,500. Patricia nearly shouted. William made a show of calling someone. The tension was delicious. $10,000, Patricia declared. Standing up, the room fell silent. William shook his head sadly. That's beyond my authorization. I'm out. I paused, then sighed too. Rich for my blood. Congratulations, Ms. Gray. Patricia's triumph lasted 3 seconds before confusion set in. She had just paid $10. Zero for a worthless strip of land in the parking lot. William collected his payment, still chuckling. Did you see her face when she realized she might have been played? But the best part was yet to come. While Patricia puzzled over plot X, I had quietly filed to purchase plot Y, the corresponding strip on the opposite side. That afternoon, I bought plot Y for $800 in a private sale. No competition, no drama. Patricia now owned one piece of the access puzzle, but without the other, it was useless. Like having a lock without a key. She had spent $10,000 on nothing, while I had secured the strategic piece for less than a Zero. Duke seemed to sense my satisfaction. That evening we got her boy. I told him tomorrow I would build my fence, and Patricia would finally understand the price of trying to steal from a grieving widower hour. I just won the crucial land auction right in front of Patricia. She's furious, but doesn't understand why I wanted that worthless plot. Can you guess what I'll do with it? Write your answer. 4:30 in the morning, and my driveway looked like a construction parade. 3 trucks loaded with steel posts, chain-link concrete, and a small excavator rolled in quietly. I'd hired Jake Morrison's crew, the best fence builders in 3 counties, with specific instructions: complete everything before 8 Narasier A.M. Jake himself, a mountain of a man with arms like tree trunks, Reviewed the plans by flashlight. 3. M steel fence, electronic gate, concrete footings, security cameras. He rattled off you preparing for war. Marcus his crew had assembled similar fortifications for other rural property disputes. Something like that. I replied, my neighbors about to learn a hard lesson about property boundaries. Jake grinned, knowingly. Say no more. We've built 5 anti-Karen fences this year alone. My guys know the drill. We'll have you secured before she finishes her morning coffee. Duke supervised the operation with intense interest, tail wagging at all the activity the crew worked with. Military precision. Post holes were augured concrete, mixed steel posts, set perfectly plumb. The sound of power tools and diesel engines filled the pre-dawn darkness by 5:45. The fence line was taking shape, a formidable barrier across the 75mm stretch of Plot Y. As the sky lightened to pure gray, I noticed movement at Patricia's house. Her bedroom light flicked on, then her kitchen. A moment later, her back door flew open. Patricia stormed out in a silk bathrobe and slippers, her face contorted with rage. "What the hell is this racket?" she shrieked. "Stop this immediately." I stepped forward calmly, Duke at my side. "Good morning, Patricia. Just doing some property improvements. Early bird gets the worm." As they say, her eyes darted to the fence line, and I saw the moment realization dawned. "You can't do this." Patricia's voice rose to a pitch that probably woke neighbors half a mile away. "This is harassment, disrupting the peace. I'll call the police." "Go ahead," I said pleasantly. "I have all the permits. Working hours start at 4:30 for agricultural properties. It's all perfectly legal." I produced the building permits, making sure she could see the official stamps. Patricia's face cycled through several shades of red. That's the access road to the lake. You can't block it, actually." "I can. This is Plot Y, which I own. Your Plot X is right there." I pointed to her expensive purchase. "But without my plot, it doesn't connect to anything useful." The crew continued working, professional enough to ignore the drama. Jake's team had clearly seen plenty of property dispute theater. By 7:15, the fence stood complete, 8 ft of galvanized steel mesh, topped with angled deterrent wires set in concrete that would last decades. The electronic gate featured a keypad magnetic lock, and 2 security cameras with night vision solar panels powered the system, making it independent of the power grid signs reading private property. No trespassing video surveillance were posted every 20 feet. The transformation was remarkable. What had been an innocent-looking dirt path now resembled a minimum security prison entrance. Jake's crew packed up their equipment with satisfied efficiency that should hold off anything short of a tank. Jake commented, "Want us to stick around for the fireworks?" "No need," I said, paying him in cash. "But thanks for the quick work," as the trucks pulled away. I checked my watch. 7:45. Patricia's first tour group would arrive in 15 minutes. 8 Joriciao arrived with mathematical precision. Patricia emerged from her house in full real estate agent, costume navy suit, pearl necklace, leather portfolio, and a smile that could sell ice to Eskimos behind her. A convoy of expensive cars discouraged 25 potential investors. I recognized the types from my appraising days: hedge fund managers, property developers, venture capitalists, all looking for the next big opportunity. Patricia led them like a tour guide, gesturing grandly as she spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the future site of Patricia Lake Eco Resort. In just moments, you'll see the pristine waters that will anchor our sustainable luxury destination." The group followed eagerly, checkbooks practically burning in their pockets. They rounded the corner toward the lake access, and the entire procession stopped dead. The silence was beautiful. 25 wealthy investors stared at my fortress-like fence, their expressions shifting from anticipation to confusion to anger. Patricia stood frozen, her professional smile cracking like old paint. The morning sun gleamed off the steel mesh, highlighting every no trespassing sign. One of the cameras swiveled to focus on the group, its red recording light blinking steadily for several heartbeats. Nobody moved. Then the question started, "Miss Gray, is this some kind of joke?" A silver-haired man in a $1,000 suit stepped forward. "Where's the lake access you promised? I flew in from Seattle for this." A woman added, "My time is worth $2,000 an hour. This looks like fraud to me." Another investor growled, "I want my deposit back immediately." Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a beached fish. This is temporary, a minor boundary dispute. I assure you we have full lake access." But her voice had lost its confident ring. Sweat beaded on her forehead. Despite the cool morning, I chose that moment to make my entrance walking casually from my house with Duke trotting beside me. "Good morning, folks. Beautiful day for a tour, isn't it?" 25 heads swiveled toward me. Patricia's eyes shot daggers. "This is the man causing trouble," she announced desperately. "He's illegally blocking public access." "Nothing illegal about it," I said conversationally, pulling out my freshly laminated deed. "This is Plot Y, purchased legally at county auction, private property. That's Plot X over there." I gestured to Patricia's parcel, but unfortunately, it doesn't connect to the lake without crossing my land. The lead investor, the silver-haired man, studied the situation with sharp intelligence. "Miss Gray, are you telling us you don't actually have lake access?" His voice carried the dangerous calm of someone who'd been in many boardrooms. "Of course we have access." Patricia stammered, "This is just a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," I clarified helpfully. "She owns a strip of land that goes nowhere. I own the strip that connects to the lake. Unless you folks can fly, there's no way to reach the water without trespassing on my property." A younger investor was already on his phone, apparently calling his lawyer. Another was taking photos of the fence. Patricia and me, several were having heated conversations with their associates. The woman from Seattle looked ready to commit murder. "I gave you $25,000 as a deposit." One man shouted at Patricia, "I want it back now." This opened the floodgates. Others began citing their deposit amounts. $15,000, $30,000. I transferred $50,000 just yesterday. Patricia's face had gone from red to white. Duke, sensing the tension, positioned himself between me and the angry crowd. "Please, everyone, let's return to my house and discuss this calmly," Patricia pleaded. But the investors were already heading to their cars. "You'll be hearing from my attorney. This is fraud, plain and simple. I'm calling the FBI. Expect a lawsuit." By Monday, car doors slammed like gunshots. Engines roared to life within minutes. The convoy of luxury vehicles was speeding away, leaving Patricia standing alone in the dust. She turned on me with pure venom in her eyes. "You've ruined everything," she hissed. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Protected my property?" I suggested mildly, "You mean like you should have protected those deposits?" Her face contorted. "Open this gate immediately. I have legal access." "No. You have Plot X, a 75 square meter strip of land that starts at your property line and ends at my fence. Congratulations on your $10. 000 sidewalk to nowhere." Patricia rushed the gate, rattling it violently open. I'll sue you. I'll destroy you." Duke barked once sharply, and she stepped back. "Sue away," I said calmly. "Though you might want to save your money for all those refunds. You'll be paying." Thomas and Linda Murphy chose that moment to drive by in their pickup truck. Thomas rolled down his window, surveying the scene with obvious amusement. Morning Marcus Nice fence, very sturdy looking. He turned to Patricia with mock concern. "Everything all right, Miss Gray? You look a bit flustered." Linda leaned across her husband. "Oh my, Patricia, where did all your investors go? They left so quickly." Patricia glared at them with murderous intent. Thomas chuckled. 40 years. I've lived here, And I've never seen someone outsmart themselves quite so thoroughly. You bought a road to nowhere, didn't you? It's like those city folk who buy oceanfront property at high tide. Linda added sweetly, sometimes you need local knowledge to avoid expensive mistakes. Sarah Wilson jogged up, smartphone in hand. Sarah ran the local grocery and served as the community's unofficial news network. Oh my God. Patricia, someone just posted a video of all those investors leaving. It's already got 300 views. Everyone's sharing it. She showed her phone screen where shaky footage captured the investors' angry departure. The comments were brutal. Scam artist exposed. Lock her up, Patricia Gray. You fraud queen. Patricia looked like she might faint. Her perfect morning had become a public humiliation that would spread through the county like wildfire. This isn't over, she snarled at me. I have resources. I have connections. You've made a powerful enemy. I made an enemy the day you tried to steal my lake. I replied evenly. I just decided to fight back. Patricia stormed off her heels, clicking angrily on the pavement, but I noticed her shoulders shaking, whether from rage or despair. I couldn't tell Duke, and I stood by our new fence, watching her retreat. The morning sun had fully risen, casting long shadows across the land. My legs sparkled peacefully in the distance, protected once again. Good boy, I told Duke, scratching his ears. We did it. But even as I savored the victory, I knew Patricia wouldn't give up. Desperate people do desperate things, and Patricia was beyond desperate. Now those investors would want their money back, and she'd already spent it on plans, permits, and probably personal expenses. A cornered animal is most dangerous. And I'd just backed Patricia into a very tight corner. Thomas parked his truck and walked over. That was something else, Marcus. But watch yourself. That woman's got the look of someone with nothing left to lose. I know, I admitted. But she started this war. Just remember? Thomas said seriously. Winning battles isn't the same as winning wars. She'll come at you. Another way, as if to underscore his point. My phone buzzed with a notification. Someone had tagged me in a social media post. Patricia had already started her counterattack, and it was going to get ugly. But for now, I had my fence, my lake, and the satisfaction of seeing 25 investors drive away from Patricia's scam. Duke and I headed home for breakfast. Knowing the real fight was just beginning, Patricia had shown she'd lie to police and defraud investors. What would she try next? The next morning arrived with an unwelcome surprise at 6 UZSH. M2. Police cruisers pulled into my driveway, lights flashing. This time, Patricia had come prepared with reinforcements. Officer Rodriguez and Officer Kim emerged looking weary of what was clearly becoming a neighborhood feud. Behind them, Patricia stepped out of her car with calculated precision. She'd bandaged her arm, applied subtle makeup to look pale and victimized, and brought a witness, a nervous-looking man I recognized as Jeremy Peterson, who'd recently moved into the old Baker place. Patricia had clearly coached him. Well, officers, thank you for coming so quickly, Patricia said, voice trembling with manufactured fear. Yesterday's incident left me terrified. As I told you on the phone, Mr. Marcus physically assaulted me when I tried to discuss the fence situation. Jeremy saw everything. She gestured to her bandaged arm with theatrical delicacy. Jeremy stepped forward, reluctantly avoiding eye contact with everyone. I saw Mr. Marcus push M. Gray. She fell and hurt her arm on the fence. His rehearsed words came out stilted and unconvincing. Duke growled softly from behind my screen door. Sensing the deception, Officer Rodriguez looked skeptical, but followed protocol. Mr. Marcus, we need to ask you about yesterday's alleged incident. Miss Gray claims you assaulted her around 400 p.m. near the new fence. I remained calm, having anticipated something like this. Officers, I have 8 security cameras covering my property, including the fence line. Everything that happens here is recorded in high definition with audio. Would you like to review yesterday's footage? Patricia's confident mask slipped for just a moment. She hadn't noticed all the cameras during her rage. "Yesterday, those videos can be edited," she protested quickly. "Everyone knows about deep fakes these days." Officer Kim pulled out a tablet. "Ma'am, our department has tools to verify video authenticity. Mr. Marcus, can you share the footage from yesterday afternoon?" I invited them inside Duke, staying protectively close as I pulled up the security system on my laptop. The timestamp showed 4:07 p.m. Crystal clear footage revealed Patricia approaching the fence alone. No Jeremy in sight. She examined the gate, kicked it several times, then deliberately scraped her arm against a protruding bolt before walking away. The entire self-inflicted injury was captured from multiple angles. The officers watched in silence. Jeremy's face had gone pale. Rodriguez turned to him with steel in his voice. "Mr. Peterson, would you like to revise your statement? Remember, filing a false police report is a felony." Jeremy crumbled instantly. She offered me $5. $0 to back up her story. "I need the money. My daughter needs medical treatment." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He looked ready to cry. Patricia's face transformed from victim to fury. "You idiot!" she snarled at Jeremy. All pretense abandoned. "I should have known better than to trust a weakling like you." Rodriguez had seen enough. "Miss Gray, you're under arrest for filing a false police report and witness tampering. You have the right to remain silent." As they handcuffed Patricia, she locked eyes with me. The hatred there was pure and poisonous. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You have no idea who you're messing with. I have connections. You can't imagine. You'll regret this." But her threats rang hollow as the officers guided her into the patrol car. Jeremy, looking miserable, gave his statement about the bribery attempt. The officers would release Patricia later that day on bail. But the damage was done, another mark on her record, another failure in her desperate scheme. As the police cars pulled away, I felt no satisfaction. Only weariness. How far would Patricia go? What would she try next that evening? My phone exploded with notifications. Patricia had apparently spent her afternoon after bail creating a social media smear campaign of epic proportions across multiple platforms and community groups. She'd posted dozens of variations of the same twisted narrative. "Local monopolist threatens single woman's safety," screamed one headline. "Violent widower hour HOAs." Community Resources declared another. She'd photoshopped images to make me look menacing, created fake screenshots of threatening messages I'd never sent, and spun an elaborate tale of persecution. According to Patricia's fiction, I was a deranged hermit who'd threatened to poison the lake if anyone else tried to use it. She claimed I'd killed my wife for insurance money and was now targeting successful women who challenged my dominance. The posts gained traction quickly. People who didn't know me personally began commenting with outrage. "Men like this are why women aren't safe. Someone should investigate the wife's death. Boycott any business that works with him." My phone rang constantly with reporters seeking comments, neighbors asking if the stories were true, and even a few death threats from internet vigilantes. Sarah Wilson called, panic in her voice. "Marcus, this is insane. She's destroying your reputation. Half the county's reading." This garbage Duke sensed my distress, pressing against my leg and whining softly for a moment. I considered responding, defending myself point by point. But then, I remembered something from my real estate days. Never argue with a liar on their terms. Instead, create your own narrative with undeniable truth. I spent 2 hours carefully assembling my response, not an emotional rebuttal or angry denial, but a methodical presentation of facts. I created a single post titled, "The Truth About Patricia Gray, aka Patricia Coleman. Evidence Speaks Louder Than Lies." First, I included her mugshot from a Florida arrest in 2018 for real estate fraud easily found through public records. Then came screenshots of her original posts. "Trying to sell my lake," clearly dated before any of our confrontations. I added the security footage of her faking her injury, the audio of her bribing Jeremy, and the police report numbers for both incidents. The centerpiece was a compilation of messages from her victims, 15 people who'd sent deposits for the fake lake resort, totaling $89. Wow, zero in fraud. But the killing blow came from an unexpected source. While researching Patricia's past, I discovered her real name and searched deeper. Patricia Coleman had left a trail of destruction across 3 states. Florida, 2018, convicted of forging signatures on property deeds. Texas, 2020, arrested for running a fake vacation rental scam. California, 2022, fled before trial on charges of embezzling from elderly clients. Each time she'd paid bail and disappeared. Changing her name and starting fresh, the pattern was clear and damning. I included links to news articles, court documents, and victim testimonials. The post ended with a simple statement: "I'm just a grieving widower who wants to fish in his lake in peace." Patricia Coleman is a serial fraudster who targets vulnerable communities. The evidence speaks for itself. Within an hour, the post had 500 shares within 3 hours. 6. 0CU0. The comment section exploded with revelations. Thomas Murphy wrote, "I bear witness. This woman tried to sell property that wasn't hers. 40 years? I've lived here, never seen such evil." Sarah Wilson added, "My cousin lost 5,000 in deposits. We're pressing charges." Linda Murphy chimed in, "Just found out her ex-husband divorced her for stealing his mother's retirement savings." Local news picked up the story. Serial fraudster exposed in Lakeside community, with Patricia's mugshot and victim interviews. Someone created a website documenting all of Patricia's aliases and schemes across multiple states. The FBI's fraud division opened an investigation into her interstate activities. By midnight, Patricia had deleted all her social media accounts. But the internet never forgets. Screenshots circulated endlessly. Her reputation wasn't just damaged, it was obliterated. The phone calls to me shifted from accusations to apologies. "Sorry, I doubted you, Marcus. We should have known better. Thank you for exposing her, Duke." Finally relaxed, sensing the shift in energy. We sat on the porch, looking out toward the lake. The moonlight reflected off the water. Emily had loved so much for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. But even as peace settled over the ranch, I knew Patricia wouldn't simply disappear. Desperate people with nothing left to lose are capable of anything. The next morning brought confirmation of my fears. Patricia's car was gone from her driveway, but she hadn't fled. Instead, I found Duke acting strangely, refusing his breakfast and whimpering at the door when I let him out. He immediately ran to his water bowl by the fence and started barking frantically. I approached carefully and noticed an oily sheen on the water's surface. My blood ran cold. I immediately dumped the bowl and called the vet, explaining my suspicions. "Bring him in immediately," Dr. Martinez said urgently, "and bring a sample of that water." Thank God, Duke hadn't drunk any. His instincts had saved him. The vet confirmed the water contained anti-rees, sweet tasting, but deadly to dogs. Patricia had tried to poison my best friend. I filed another police report, adding attempted animal cruelty to Patricia's growing list of crimes. But this felt different. Fraud and lies were one thing. Trying to kill Duke crossed a line that turned my cold determination into hot rage. Emily had loved that dog. He was my last living connection to her, and Patricia had tried to take him from me that night. I upgraded my security system with motion, activated lights, and additional cameras. Duke stayed inside, looking mournfully at his outdoor freedom, but I couldn't risk his safety. Patricia had shown she was capable of anything, and I needed to prepare for whatever came next. The war between us had escalated beyond property disputes into something darker and more dangerous. Anderson, Edwards and Associates occupied a tasteful office building downtown, the kind of place that whispered old money and established success. Robert Anderson himself, a distinguished man with silver temples and sharp eyes, reviewed my case file with increasing interest. Mr. Marcus, in 30 years of practice, I've rarely seen such a clear-cut case of serial fraud, he said, adjusting his reading glasses. Patricia Coleman, or Gray as she calls herself now, has violated at least 5 major statutes. But what's truly remarkable is her pattern of behavior across multiple jurisdictions. He turned his laptop screen toward me, revealing a deeper investigation than even I had managed. Our paralegal found 3 additional victims in Nevada, 2 in Arizona, and believe it or not, an elderly couple in Maine who lost their entire retirement to one of her schemes. She's been doing this for over a decade. The evidence was overwhelming. Patricia had perfected her con over years, targeting rural communities where people still operated on trust and handshakes. She had identified valuable properties owned by vulnerable individuals, create elaborate development schemes, collect deposits from investors, then disappear when things went south. The lake resort scam was just her latest iteration. "What's our next move?" I asked. Anderson smiled grimly. "We file both civil and criminal complaints. The civil suit will seek damages for harassment, defamation, attempted theft of property rights, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The criminal referrals will cover fraud, filing false police reports, witness tampering, and attempted animal cruelty. With her history, no prosecutor will offer plea deals. We spent 2 hours documenting everything: the forged lake listings, the false police reports, the social media defamation. The poisoning attempt on Duke Anderson's team was thorough, creating exhibits from security footage, compiling witness statements, and cross-referencing with Patricia's past crimes. "There's something else," Anderson said as we finished that Florida conviction. "She jumped bail. There's technically still a warrant, Texas too, and California has been looking for her for 2 years. Once we file, she won't be able to run again." The net was closing around Patricia, woven from her own lies and crimes. Duke waited patiently in the lobby, charming the secretaries while I signed papers that would end Patricia's reign of terror. Meanwhile, Patricia was discovering that her reputation's destruction had consequences beyond social embarrassment. Her phone rang constantly, but not with support. "Where's my $5,000 deposit? I want my money back today. My lawyer will be in touch." The investors she had defrauded weren't just angry. They were organized. Someone created a group chat for victims, sharing information, and coordinating legal action. The total fraud amount had reached $113,000 across 23 victims. But Patricia's problems went deeper. The mortgage company called about missed payments. The car dealership wanted to discuss her overdue lease. Credit card companies flagged her accounts. The house of cards was collapsing, and Patricia had nowhere to run. She tried hiring lawyers, but her reputation preceded her. "Patricia Coleman. Sorry, we're fully booked. 3 fraud convictions. We'll need a $200,000 retainer upfront, currently under investigation by the FBI. We can't help you." Even ambulance chasers wouldn't touch her case. One lawyer was brutally honest. "Ma'am, you need a miracle, not a lawyer. My advice: start negotiating plea deals before they throw the book at you." Patricia even tried the public defender's office, playing the victim card. The overworked attorney looked at her file and laughed bitterly. "You defrauded people out of over $100. Zero. You own a house and car. You're not indigent. You're just broke from your own crimes. Find money for a private attorney or represent yourself." The community meeting that week was standing room only. Word had spread about Patricia's schemes, and neighbors who'd been suspicious but silent finally spoke up. The real president of the town council, Walter Freeman, called for order. "We're here to discuss the Patricia Gray situation. I'll remind everyone to keep comments civil and factual." But civility was in short supply. One by one, Patricia's victim stood to speak. She told me the lake access was guaranteed. I gave her $8. 000. She promised my daughter a job at the resort. We invested our savings. She's been dumping trash on my property line for months. My dog got sick after drinking from a puddle near her yard. Now I wonder if it was deliberate. The stories painted a picture of a predator who'd invaded their peaceful community. Thomas Murphy stood slowly, his weathered-faced grave. I've lived here 40 years. We've had disputes, sure, but nothing like this. This woman came here to destroy our way of life for profit. She picked us because she thought rural folks were easy marks. Well, she thought wrong. Applause erupted. Linda Murphy added, "She tried to turn us against Marcus, a man who has been nothing but a good neighbor since losing his wife. That's not just fraud, it's evil." The vote was unanimous. Patricia was formally banned from all community events and declared persona non grata. While it had no legal weight, the symbolic rejection was complete. Patricia's house went on the market within days, priced desperately low for a quick sale, but even 40% below market value. Nobody would touch it. That's the fraud house. People whispered, "Bad luck to buy from a criminal." Real estate agents refused the listing. "Sorry, too much baggage. My reputation can't handle this. Maybe try online sales." Patricia was trapped in a house she couldn't afford in a community that despised her, facing lawsuits. She couldn't defend against her car. Was repossessed one morning. The tow truck driver deaf to her. "Please, utilities sent shut off." Notices the facade of success crumbled, revealing the desperate grifter beneath. Then came Judgment Day. The courtroom was packed for Patricia's criminal trial. She looked haggarded in an ill-fitting suit. Her attorney, clearly a last-minute hire who seemed to be learning about the case as it progressed. The prosecutor, Jennifer Walsh, was ruthlessly efficient. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Patricia Coleman has left a trail of victims across 7 states over 12 years. She's a predator who targets rural communities. Believing them to be easy marks today, we prove that justice reaches everywhere, even quiet lakeside towns. The evidence was overwhelming: security footage of Patricia's lies, audio of her bribery attempts, documents showing the fraudulent lake sales testimony from 23 victims, some driving hundreds of miles to face their tormentor. I testified about the harassment, the attempts to steal my property, the poisoning of Duke's water bowl. Duke actually came to court as evidence, sitting perfectly behaved, while the prosecutor explained how Patricia had tried to kill him. Several jurors visibly recoiled at that part. Patricia's defense was pathetic. Her lawyer argued stress, financial pressure, momentary lapses in judgment. But how do you explain away 12 years of fraud across 7 states? When Patricia took the stand, she tried playing victim one last time, claiming I had orchestrated everything to steal her property. The prosecutor destroyed her in minutes, presenting her own posts, trying to sell my lake before. We'd even met the jury, deliberated for exactly 47 minutes, guilty on all counts. The sentence came 2 weeks later, combining the new convictions with her outstanding warrants from other states. Patricia faced serious time. Patricia Coleman. The judge eined, "You're a career criminal who has shown no remorse, only regret at being caught. You've destroyed lives, stolen dreams, and attacked the very foundation of community trust. I sentence you to 18 years in federal prison with no possibility of early release for 5 years. Additionally, you're ordered to pay full restitution to all victims, totaling $317. 0 across all jurisdictions." Patricia collapsed at the defendant's table. 18 years at her age. It was essentially a life sentence, as guards led her away in shackles. She looked at me one final time. The hatred remained, but underneath was something else. Defeat. Total, crushing defeat. 1 month later, Duke and I enjoyed our morning ritual by the lake. The water sparkled with autumn light, peaceful and untouched. Thomas and Linda had organized a community barbecue to celebrate the return of peace. though everyone knew it was really a Patricia's Gone party. Sarah Wilson brought her famous potato salad. And the latest gossip, did you hear? Patricia's in federal prison in Kentucky. Apparently she's been assigned to kitchen duty from wannabe resort owner to dishwasher. Everyone laughed, though I felt a twinge of something, not pity exactly, but a recognition of waste. Patricia had intelligence and drive. If she'd applied those gifts honestly, she might have succeeded legitimately. Instead, she'd chosen lies and theft, destroying herself in pursuit of easy money. You did good, Marcus. Walter Freeman said, raising his beer in salute. Stood up to a bully and won. Emily would be proud. The mention of Emily's name brought the familiar ache, but also warmth. I'd protected our dream. Kept my promise to her. Duke barked happily, chasing a butterfly along the shore. Life had returned to normal, or as normal as it could be. Without Emily, the lake was ours again, peaceful and protected. As the sun set over the water, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, I whispered to the evening breeze, "We did it. The lake is safe." Duke returned to my side, wet and happy from his adventures together. We watched the light fade, guardian and companion protecting a dream and a promise. Patricia was gone, but Emily's memory lived on in every ripple of water, every sunset, every peaceful morning by the lake. Sometimes justice comes with handcuffs and prison sentences. Sometimes it comes with the simple joy of a dog playing in the water. His human fought to protect both kinds. Matter. Both kinds. Heal. That's the complete story of Patricia Gray, or Patricia Coleman, as the federal prison system knows her, who tried to steal my lake and ended up losing everything. People often ask if I feel guilty about her 18-year sentence. The answer is no. She chose to lie, steal, and attack the innocent. She tried to poison Duke, destroy my reputation, and steal the place where Emily's memory lives on. She got exactly what she deserved today. The ranch is peaceful again. Duke's getting older, but still loves our morning walks by the lake. The community is closer bonded by surviving Patricia's attempted invasion. We learned that standing together defeats predators who think rural means easy prey. I still fish every evening from the same spot, thinking about Emily and smiling at how we protected her dream. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama. And here's my question for you. Have you ever dealt with a neighbor from hell? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing how others stand up to bullies. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is simply protecting what's yours. See you in the next video. If this story made you feel better about your own life choices, our job is done. Give.